Ladies and gentlemen, Master Duel fans, especially to the ones in reality, aka Planet Earth, 2022 has passed away, and Happy New Year to the year of 2023 to everyone all over the world. Now, we all had our ups and downs in the year of 2022, but at the end of the day is where, to the ones we lost in life, we will always carry your spirit with us as we keep our heads up high. And on top of that, season 13 has upon us, and everyone is happy about it based off from what went down with the ban list changes. And as season 13 has already approached us, it is time I try out a new deck to showcase for the first time ever to see how well the deck can do. And the deck of choice that I'm going to take for this season is Magical Musket. The year is 1987, and it sure do suck to live in the planet of New Texas. As we traverse through the planet of New Texas, we are going to dig deep into the whole entire archetype of Magical Musket cards. They all share the same thing, with the small exception of some cards, where during anyone's turn, you can literally activate Magical Musket spell trap cards straight from your hand. All of them does that. And then, with the exception of a few cards where no matter who activates a spell trap card, where if they are in the same column as the musket appears to be in, outside of the damage step, they get to do some supernatural effects. Caspar here, Stratos of Magical Musket cards, spells and traps included, but it cannot be the same ones as the one you used. So in this context, non-musket cards equals all musket cards can be searched out. Doc Holiday here, same goes for the effect of Caspar, but instead of searching, it is recursion from the graveyard, and it cannot be the same one as you used previously. Once again, non-musket cards equals all musket cards from grave to hand. Billy the Kid, aka Kid Brave, ditch one Magical Musket card, spells and traps included, draw two. Seems pretty good for Pot of Greed. Belle Star, aka Starfire, she lets you special summon one level 4 or lower Magical Musket that isn't Belle Star straight from your deck in defense. Calamity Jane is your monster reborn of any main deck Magical Musket, including copies of Calamity Jane in defense mode. Wild Bill Hickok, he is your mini Pot of Avarice of Magical Musket cards, spells and traps included, and draws you one. Samuel the Black Huntsman, aka Mastermind Zachiel. He is one of the two monsters that are super different than the smaller level muskets. You can tribute summon this Mastermind Zachiel by tribute one Magical Musket monsters. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of Magical Musket spell trap cards you used this turn while Zachiel is face up on your field. So he is literally cliff or monolith in terms of magical muskets. And some lists, as a side note by the way, some lists don't play this card, but I actually do as a one-of, because in any super grind game state is where if my opponent has monsters that are unaffected by everything else with too much attack power, there are certain techs in this deck that will help Samuel to get over even bigger monsters that acts as towers. And you'll see what I mean as we get to that card. Magical Musketeer Max, who requires one level 8 or lower Magical Musket monster. Most cases, the whole entire main deck of muskets to get Max out. If Max ends up resolving, you are literally winning this game. First chance the card is link summoned depends on how many cards your opponent has. That's what Max does. If it's the number of monsters, depends on how many. That's how many magical musket spells and traps you get to search with different names. If it's too much back row to count, that's how many magical musket monsters that you get to special summon straight from your deck with different names, regardless of level. Onwards to the spells and traps. Magical Musket Steady Hands. This is one of the cards to pair up with Samuel the Black Huntsman if I were to battle monsters that are unaffected by everything else. Steady Hands lets you have one of your musket monsters double up the original attack and defense until the end of this turn. However, no direct attack of that doubled monster. So most cases, Samuel plus this, you are able to literally get over any monster that is unaffected by everything else. Cross domination is where, obviously, if you control a musket, target one face-up monster anywhere on the field, doesn't gotta be your opponent's for the big brain plays, until the end of this turn, change the attack and defense to 0. Also, effects negated. So, part Veiler with a hint of dropping it to 0. Desperado, it is your spot removal of face-up cards anywhere on the field. Target one, kill it. Dancing Needle, this is your DD Crow of Magical Muskets. DD Crow for 3 in either graveyard. Last Stand, it is your Spell Trap Negate of Magical Muskets. As long as you control one, Omni Negate of spells and traps. Fiendish Deal. Some lists don't play this card, but I actually do, because specifically, this makes it so that none of your magical muskets can't be killed by card effects. And if this card in your possession gets sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, this lets you literally get any musket card from deck or graveyard that isn't Fiendish Steel to the hand. And then Crooked Crown. One Crooked Crown at a time. During the main phase, this lets you special summon one musket monster from your hand, and if you do, if your opponent's main monster zone in that monster's current column is unused, that zone cannot be used until the end of this turn, even if it leaves. And that effect is hard once. And that is all of the whole entire deck core of Magical Muskets. Now, looking at this hand, all I can say is this is quite ridiculousness. D Fisher. So, when it comes to D Fisher, first of all, welcome back, as well as Macrocosmos to 3. And D Fisher and Macrocosmos is meant to counter the death sentence of Ishizu Tier. In TCG land, that is. Now, when it comes to D Fisher, it makes it so that I believe it's either Flunder, Metaphys, or any other banished deck in general that can utilize D Fisher as well as Macrocosmos. So let's see what banished deck that we are up against. Terraforming, Wonder What's Field. Oh man, this is a tough challenge. Up against my own deck, the Weather. Now, normally, you all know what the Weather cards do, but because this is the opponent's perspective view, we'll just put up a little education for you guys. When this card is activated, place 1 Weather Spell Trap from deck face up in your spell trap zone. So basically, the Weather Pattern Snow upon activation. This is your double summon of the Weather Monster, and if you were to put up a link summon of the Weather Monster, you can use the Weather spells and traps as if they are monsters. Activates Forecast, getting the Snowy Canvas. Snowy Canvas, this is your Stratos of the Weather cards. Nothing. Normal summon Billy the Kid, Ties of the Brethren, for Caspar and Doc Holliday. Billy the Kid, ditch the Cross Dom, drew into Ogre and Chalice, pretty good. Draw phase, activate the Spicy Tech deck. World Legacy Awakens. Immediately after this effect resolves, put up a link summon, which is basically IP Masquerena of a trap. So generally, the idea with this trap card is this, along with any of your musket monsters you control, it makes it so that hopefully, if they don't have a hand trap, you get to do too many things on your opponent's turn. And based on this board state, 3 back row, that means if my opponent does not have a Ash Blossom to stop this, then this is basically a swarm of muskets. Link off the dock into Max Effect, and Billy the Kid. Sorry about this, Doc. To the banished pile you go, and draw the 2. We got Desperado. Max for Samuel, aka Zachiel. Belle Star, aka Starfire, and Calamity Jane. Ooh, that is terrible. Wow, and to think, I was actually gonna go for lethal next turn. Raigeki is dropped to the field, which also means I have to do this because it is so bad for me if I don't do it. In response to Raigeki, Desperado get rid of the snow canvas because we got Ghost Ogre in hand just in case if he were to double summon the weather monster. And if you're wondering why I chose not to destroy the D-Fisher, it is because I am actually going to save up the resource management somewhere in this spicy tech deck where this lets me get a few of my banished light monsters back to the hand. Most cases, the spicy tech deck is called Light of Redemption. Basically, pay 100 life points to add one of the banished lights back to the hand. And you'll see what's up with it if we ever do come across that card. Activates another forecast, so turns out he replaced the first copy with the second copy, and forecast getting snow canvas. And does he still not have a weather monster? I am so sorry to my opponent. There goes the steady hands, but we'll save it for good use. Normal cast bar, link off the max, Max's effect, Billy the Kid, Calamity Jane, Belle Star, and another cast bar. Steady hands on the max, cast bar to search. Billy the Kid for 16, cast bar for 12, Calamity Jane for 15, and Belle Star for 13. If you are wondering why Max did not attack, it is because of steady hands. Side effect of can't do no direct attack. Third copy of Forecast. In response to Forecast, Desperado resolve without effect. And unfortunately, I am so sorry to my opponent, but I cannot let you go off with the weather, spells, and traps, as well as monsters for the Link summon. So guys, that's gonna do it as a weather enthusiast, former the weather enthusiast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell to keep yourself constantly updated, and I'll catch you guys next time.